All right, man. Torture Talk OT. You know what it is, baby. Let's get it. We back. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the page. All right, man. So, Fantastic Hip Hop has dropped a new one, and we're gonna watch along and give our reaction, our commentary on what he's saying. Yeah. So before we get into that, also too, this episode is about Drake and him flopping and not really doing as well. The Weeknd and Kendrick has basically put him in a hole. So before we get into that, I got to get my spill. This is Torture Talk. If you like the content, please consider subscribing. If you're new here, let me work for your subscription today. All the beautiful, single, sexy ladies, put one in the chat. All the fellas, y'all know where to find the ones that just don't harass them. I don't sell no merch, but I do have content. Absolutely free, but if you leave a donation, if you want to, links is in the description. Cash App. No more PayPal. They call me a hidden gem. I went from 1,300 subscribers to over 13, 14, 15, and almost 16,000 subscribers. And yes, I am the king of the north. Let me know what kingdom you from. Also, too, I will be battling the very first live on this channel, March 23rd. Be on the lookout. Share, share, share. Put it everywhere. Make sure you do it. It's going to be me versus J-Dub. You already know what it is. J-Dub's pretty good, and we're going to get to it. All right, man. So no more talking. Let's go.
Now, while Drake, OVO, and all of their fans may have thought they were so up when SSS for You dropped, what has now become clear is that as the streaming numbers are coming in for this record and we are seeing how this thing is performing, that despite people initially lining up to hear the return of Drake when this came out, a lot of those people listened just to see how bad this record would be, as they have not stuck around for repeat listens, because when it comes to how Drake's SSS for You album is performing, it is way below what anyone would have projected, and because of this, Drake, Party Next Door, and everyone around them is spiraling, because they never thought they would see a day where their music is doing so bad. And now, before we go any further into this, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And just as I said in my last video, the Drake fans are still very mad at me because they don't want you to hear the truth I'm about to tell, so please be sure to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. It helps me out a ton and it is more needed than ever. And so now when it comes to Drake and SSS for You, beyond hip-hop or anyone else's opinion for that,
Oh man, this is not gonna be good. If Drake flops, I remember one dude said if Drake doesn't do well, the music industry doesn't do well. I had to laugh. I thought that was the funniest thing that I ever heard in my life. And he's a record exec who said that. If Drake was to leave, the music industry would crash and burn. It would go to hell. It would, like, he was saying some of the most reckless things. And my thing is like, that's not true. You know that's not true. And I said it back then that that's not true. You're just capping. Like, get up out of here. But this album flopping, if this album flops, and let's be clear here, Drake doing less than 150 or 200,000 is, to me, is a flop for him. You know what I'm saying? If he does a little bit over that, I'll be like, okay, that's okay. But for him, you talking about a person who does 400, 450, 500 in 1 week. I just don't see that happening. I don't. I don't think that Drake would ever reach that anymore. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he would ever reach that anymore. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of his fans have checked out. I think they checked out not because they don't like him no more, just because they just felt like he's just repetitive. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. But let's keep it going, man.
matter. When it comes to the fall off that we have seen in Drake's career and the shift that we have all been talking about that has been going on in hip hop ever since Kendrick Lamar won the beef, there is no debating what's actually happening anymore because we now have numbers to truly see how this album from Drake is doing. And when it comes to those, they are genuinely just terrible because compared to every single Drake album since the last decade, this project didn't just have the worst first day streams by far with only a little over 56 million. But compared to the last Drake album, For All the Dogs, which had 108 million opening day streams, that's almost a 50% decrease in the amount of people who listen to this new album. And I mean, no matter what you try to say about this, there's no way around the facts. This is just terrible. And what is so funny is that after Drake tried to use these same number games on his diss tracks to dismiss Kendrick from being on his level, and
Yeah, man. A 50% decrease is nuts. That's crazy. If you streamed 100 million, and in your next album you stream half of that, yeah, you could say you basically on your way out of here. You on your way out of here. Because if you don't do anything to recover from this and your next album comes and it does less than that, I'm telling you, at this point, I don't really see Drake recovering from this unless he takes a break for a while and then come back and do music. Because you need people to miss him. Because outside of this, I don't think people misses him. I think that he's been still around, even though he's been saying he's going to, and he's just been dropping dud after dud after dud after dud. It's just not good music. You know what I'm saying? And this is why he's in the situation he's in today.
All from trying to prevent himself from ever being rivaled by anyone? He has now lost this game so much because not just right now is Kendrick Lamar's music, which has been out for months, still outperforming all of the new songs from this Drake album, because when you look at Not Like Us and Luther, they are still comfortably doing better than this entire new album from Drake, and even with 21 new songs out from it. Luther is still projected to take that #1 spot on the charts over every single one of them, which between this being a Kendrick song, and of course because it's a melodic-driven one that does such a better job at being an R&B song than anything on Drake's new record, it's really just so funny that this is the song specifically that is finally going to become a #1 record right now when Drake is competing with it in so many different ways, and from this to the fact that with over double the catalog size and a new album out, Kendrick Lamar is still outstreaming Drake, and he is just breaking all of his records, which is going to end up giving him the ultimate title you can get in this era, as Kendrick Lamar will be the first rapper to ever reach over 100 million monthly listeners. And just the fact that Kendrick has never compromised his integrity to do this, and he now has almost over 20 million more monthly listeners than Drake has ever had in his peak, I mean, that is just surreal. And whether you want to talk about quality, impact, or just...
Yeah, man. You can't tell me nothing. Don't talk to me about numbers no more. I don't want to hear none of y'all say that Drake is #1 about the numbers. Oh, he got the hits. I don't want to hear it. Kendrick Lamar has 20 million more listeners than he do. So I don't want to ever hear anything about hits and numbers. I don't. Don't talk to me about it. If I got 20 million more listeners than you do, I don't want you to ever talk to me about numbers. If I'm the first rapper to ever reach that, I'm the first rapper to ever get to Super Bowl, I'm the first rapper to have this, I'm the first rapper to do this, I'm the first rapper to do that, I'm the first rapper to do this, I'm the first rapper to do that. Don't ever talk to me about numbers when it comes to Kendrick. I don't even want to Drake and Kendrick, don't talk to me about numbers. Don't say a fucking thing about numbers. I don't even want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't. Because if you ain't gonna be honest about it and say, well, damn, Kendrick smokes him in all these other areas. So yeah, Drake says he has 13 #1 hits. I don't care. I don't. That doesn't mean anything to me. If I got 20 million more listeners than you do, I'm the bigger artist. And I'm on record to say that now. Kendrick is a bigger artist than Drake. I know y'all hate to hear it, but it's true. Kendrick is the bigger artist than Drake right now. 100% bigger than Drake.
resort to numbers. Kendrick is really the greatest in any way you want to put it. And to quote Kendrick Lamar in his Super Bowl performance, what this is all showing is that no matter how Drake and his people try to rig the game, they just can't fake that influence. And now even if all of this makes Drake fans want to admit that Kendrick Lamar is winning too much and that nobody can compete with him off of the momentum of the Super Bowl, I mean even beyond the current king of rap, this album is still flopping when you go down the list of top artists right now, as again, from big names who just dropped like Bad Bunny, who is still outstreaming Drake in total, to somebody like The Weeknd, who made sure to let the world know that his new album, Hurry Up Tomorrow, still had the biggest streaming debut of the year so far over Drake and Party's project, which once again is just showing how beyond Drake and Kendrick, Drake is losing to so many other artists right now who he tried to diss, and when you compare Hurry Up Tomorrow, which is an amazing record, to SS For You, I mean, it's no surprise why this thing outperformed Drake's, because in every single aspect possible, this R&B album is an early Album of the Year candidate. And now, beyond really who are arguably the biggest artists out right now in not just Kendrick, but also Bad Bunny and The Weeknd, if we look down the list and really figure out how bad Drake is doing even more, his numbers are not just down for his own standards or when you compare them to the biggest stars out. But now so many other rappers and the recent work they have released has passed him by far, as compared to a record like Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia even. That record opened up with over 80 million streams on its first day, and with only 14 songs compared to Drake's 21, which makes a huge difference, as the whole idea behind making an album this long is to make sure those streaming numbers stay high up in the first place. And even despite how now multiple West Coast rappers have Drake wiped down as from the quality to the impact, and again, the thing Drake has always claimed, which are the numbers, even Tyler is winning against him in every single category now. Even beyond this, if we compare Drake to rappers who are decades into their careers like Eminem.
That's what I'm saying to y'all, man. The math ain't mathing when it comes to Drake. The numbers ain't adding up. And a lot of people are basically out here passing him by. Kendrick has put him in a hole. And I don't want to hear nobody say that this was Kendrick Lamar used Drake to become big and all this. I don't want to hear it. If that was the case, then Drake would still be big. It wouldn't stop Drake from being big. But if everybody's passing Drake by now, if you got artists that never passed him before, it's passing him now, yeah, it's over for this dude. It's over. I'm telling you.
His last album outperformed this Drake and Party record, and even funnier than this, and just putting into perspective how much of a low Drake has reached. If we compare this collab album to another collab in Vultures 1, which had no support from the industry and was actively being prevented from staying on the charts and performing well, that still ended up outperforming this record from Drake and Party, and it did so for multiple days. And so really just putting into perspective how bad this album is doing. As the second day streams for this record were even worse as they decreased and were now in the 30 millions, it is showing just how bad all of this is going, especially when you consider that a record like GNX actually increased in streams on day 2 and got over 74 million. And so overall, what we can see clearly is that Drake is no longer competing with the top rappers and artists in general. And even compared to legacy acts, no matter where they stand in the industry, he is not even outperforming them. So overall, when you actually find albums that Drake can stand next to in terms of their performance, he is now off the A-list or any top list that you can put together of the biggest acts in music, because when you consider that the album already on day 2 is now doing this low, and Kendrick Lamar's old music is still outstreaming it with ease, because really, GNX currently, which is so deep into its release, is still doing more than this. All in all, in a music industry where when something is new, everybody talks about it and tunes in because they are interested, what we are seeing from this is that Drake is really at a point where there is just no interest in actually listening to what he has put out, maybe beyond a quick first run-through. And I mean, even compared to other albums that we have talked about that have came and went, when it comes to SSS For You,
I mean, he ain't lying. If Kendrick Lamar's albums are still outpacing Drake's music today, his old stuff, bro, like, come on, bro. Good Kid, man. City. Like, listen, bro. I'm a Kendrick fan, but I'm gonna tell y'all right now, bro. I just don't see how anybody can compare their catalogs. I just don't. Like, I don't understand how you can compare somebody like Drake to somebody like Kendrick's catalog. It just doesn't add up. Like, Kendrick catalog is perfect to me. Drake's catalog is so flawed, and it's like, how do y'all compare? I guess because they two the biggest artists, and y'all comparing them that way. But outside of that, I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. I don't see it.
This album is just bad, and really in this era in the worst way possible, because aside from one song where Drake raps, the performances are just so devoid of anything that they are not even worthy of being talked about because they are so forgettable. And I mean, when it comes to Drake trying to put out a record in this time that can compete with everything in the industry, even for his new standards where the bar has already been so low, deciding to make a record with this boring of music, especially after coming off the Kendrick beef, was one of the worst choices he could have possibly made, because really the only difference between this album and For All the Dogs is that while both are terrible, at least on For All the Dogs, for the purpose of making an album where people would talk about it, from the features to all of the disses, and along with all of the other things he was doing, while the music was not good, Drake at least knew how to make conversation about his music no matter how good or bad it was. But here, the music is just so lackluster that beyond saying that and looking at its impact and effect on Drake's career like we are now, there is just nothing to actually make you think and talk about the greater portion of the music as a whole. And so with all of this, it's truly wild to say, but it's looking like Drake's run and everything he has ever represented really is over, because he just doesn't even have the ability anymore to make the masses want to listen to his music, because even compared to someone like SZA and the Lana Deluxe she put out for SOS, even a deluxe of an album that dropped years ago was able to outperform how this record did. And now with Drake losing to every single person pretty much who ever tried to create a problem with him, it's really just so telling about the moment we are at as a whole. And now as this record really has no...
I mean, at this point, I'm telling you, man, Drake should just take a break. Take a break. Maybe this is the only thing he has. Maybe this is the only thing he loves. I don't know. Maybe he just feels like he can't give up. But take a break. Take at least 2 years off. Don't make music for like 2 years. Go and work on a whole album for like 3 years. Work on something that is like, yeah, I'm gonna really talk about issues and times and everything. Really get deep into it. Get introspective on your music. I think if he does that, it would be something different. Come back with something that people could say this is a critically acclaimed album from you. Try to make a masterpiece. Try to make something that's better than all of your previous work. Because truth be told, your last couple of albums just been dog shit. Like, for real. For all the dog shit. That's it, man. So, let's finish this out.
Popular song so far, and again, the only conversations being had about it is how the Drake era is over and how bad and boring the record is, and there is nothing further going on. When more numbers for this album come out and we start to see how this thing ages, I am sure it's all going to get even more terrible. And while Drake fans and OVO are definitely going to try to deny the reality we are seeing, and they will make their same old excuses to defend the guy, which we are already starting to see, and with the narratives that are trying to get pushed, it really is just as bad of a way of taking an L as we saw when Drake lost to Kendrick but did not want to admit it with the Hard Part 6. And so all in all, when it comes to the failure of this project, and really, I mean, if you compare this release to when GNX came out, if you're really into hip-hop and music, you can tell the difference of when an actual album comes out that commands the attention of everyone in this era, and when something as ridiculous and forgettable as SSS for You does. And so overall, while Drake fans are going to deny just how bad the downfall of Drake is in this time, and they will continue to make every other excuse for him than just admitting that the music is lackluster, right now we are currently seeing, and we'll only see more, that with this album, it's not just going to be the biggest flop of Drake's entire career, but it's going to be one of the biggest moments in hip-hop and music history in terms of when everybody realized for good that an artist's run is over. And so now with all that said, let me know. What do you think of the numbers Drake has ended up doing with this record?
Yeah, man. I mean, at this point, if we can't admit that Drake has fallen, Olympus has fallen, then I don't know what to say. I'm telling y'all now, I really believe that Drake should just take a break. Just take at least a 2-year hiatus. Don't make no music with nobody. Don't talk to nobody. Just go in the studio and work on shit. You know what I'm saying? Work on a different sound of music. Do something that's totally different from what you typically do. Take a detour from your old stuff and come out and say, this is the greatest project I ever did. And don't even rap about none of it. I would even go as far as doing a whole song called The History of Me and Kendrick and what happened. And I'll be honest about it. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't go in there and say I wouldn't diss Kendrick. I'll be honest about it. I'll be like, yeah, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. I'll do a whole song about all the people, wives I slept with or girlfriends I slept with, and I'm sorry for it. Or I wouldn't be sorry for it. I'll call the song I'm the villain. You know what I'm saying? Anything. It's so much Drake could do to get his career back on track. I don't think he's ever gonna be the same because of Kendrick. As long as Kendrick's making music, yeah, Drake is done with. I don't think he's ever gonna be the same. But he has the ability, and all the writers that he's writing with, and they have the ability to make something great. And I think that he could. But at the same time, I think that in his mind, he's already great. He don't need no help. He don't need no type of nothing. And that's why he's in the situation he's in today. And this is why he's going to continue to fall, because it is what it is. All right, man. Thank y'all for joining me. I appreciate y'all for being here with me during the OT show. You know what it is. I had to do some finagling and all that stuff, but things looking good, man. All right, man. See y'all. Peace. Bye.